Hey everyone, welcome back to MID9M Channel. Tonight, we invite you to join us on a terrifying journey. This isn't your average ghost tale, it's more insidious, more haunting. Imagine a small, uncharted town named Perns on the border of the US and Canada. Picture a boy, new to the town, haunted by a strange series of events that are beyond unsettling. As the boundaries between reality and nightmare blur, every day turns into an eerie struggle for sanity. If you're ready for goosebumps, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel and feel free to share this video with those you believe are brave enough to withstand our ma's horror. Time to dive into the uncanny world of our protagonist. Prepare yourself. It's going to be a spine-chilling ride. Freddy Krueger only stalks the victims that fear him, right? He plays with their dreams and gets into the deepest and darkest parts of their subconscious minds, right? That kind of stuff only happens in movies, right? Wrong. Even talking about what happened last month makes me feel nauseous and uneasy. It was no movie. It was real.we, moved to Perns on July 17, 2012. This is a little town located on the border of the United States and Canada. It is so small that it is not shown on maps of Ontario. Instead, it is just another area between Toronto and Mississauga. If you look on a map today, you will not find Perns because the government decided to take it off of every map in 1994. This plan was confidential, which is the reason nobody is aware of Perns. The only people that know about this town are the residents. Even though it is not on a map, it is still there. Chances are, if you've been in between Toronto and Mississauga, you've passed through Perns. The first day at our house in Perns, I spent the day exploring indoors and outdoors. The inside was beautiful high ceilings, light wooded flooring, and red and black walls. The outside was beautiful, as well, large fountain, colorful garden, and a wide variety of statues. That night, I sat in my warm sheets and dark blue comforter fit for a 16-year-old boy and thought about Arizona, where I used to live. It's been a day and I had already missed the gorgeous orange sun and the cuspate-saturated green cactus of Phoenix. I was reading it by Stephen King, with the only light being the one emitted from the light holder clipped to my book. I had an uneasy feeling in my room reading about a killer clown. Approaching the last chapter, I turned off the light and closed my book to save the last leg for tomorrow night. As I lay in my bed trying to go sleep, strange enough, I had this scared feeling in the pit of my stomach. It wasn't a feeling of being watched, a feeling of being touched. It was just a feeling of being afraid for no reason. I had no reason to be scared, but I just was, which was weird. I ignored the feeling and went to sleep. The next morning, I awoke to the sound of my mother's voice. "Wake up. We're going fishing." I put on a t-shirt and khakis, gobbled up my breakfast and loaded the car with the fishing tools. Landing on a dock on Lake Ontario, I took out my fishing rod, stuck a worm on the hook, and threw it in the blue water. I was very anxious as to what fish would be discovered first. Alewife, burbot, northern pike, muskellunge, herring. 30 long minutes passed and all I got was a bluegill. After 2 hours of fishing, something very mysterious occurred. To this day, I do not understand why this happened, and I can't recollect all of the sights and sounds of that moment. I attach grub to the hook and dip the rod into the cold water. I rotate the handle and wait. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass, 20 minutes pass. I was starting to give up. 1 hour later, I felt heaviness on the pole. Alert, I perk up and reel in whatever was connected to the hook. To my dismay, a horrifying sight slapped me in the face. Not being able to understand exactly what it was, it spoke to me. "Help, ... take me home," it whispered with wide eyes and a terrified expression under its wet, black hair. I made out what it was. It was a girl. She looked about 13 years old. She looked like she had white skin with a gray tint. Blood was pouring down her face from her tear ducts, and her mouth was stitched into a smile. But I could tell she was scared. I dropped her back in the water from fear and I screamed and fell to the floor. I awoke in a hospital bed with my eyes staring at my flushed face on a metal desk next to the bed. My father walked in the room and asked, "Are you okay? What happened? Do you remember anything?" Where am I questioned. "You fainted at the dock today." "What happened?" I tried to remember what had happened. Then I remembered the girl. You didn't see her. "See who?" my mother asked. "Oh, the girl." I reeled her in and she whispered, "Help, take me home," really loud. You guys were staring right at her. That's all I remember. I stare at their confused faces. You really don't remember?" "No, sorry," my father answers. I was confused. I know for a fact I was not lucid dreaming because I remember everything before I reeled the girl in. That feeling hit me. That feeling of fear. After my parents leave the hospital room, I lay in my bed and try to go to sleep when suddenly, the lights in the hospital go off for about 3 seconds and come back on. Strange enough, during those 3 seconds, I felt a cold hand grab my leg. A quick shiver crawled up my spine and I screamed. Seconds later, the doctor ran inside of my room and asked what had happened. "Okay, so when the lights went off," I began. What the doctor interrupted. "When the lights went off, the doctor laughed. "The lights never went off. You were probably just sleeping. Do you want me to call your parents in?" What? "No." I felt a cold hand grab my ankle. "Is anybody else in here with me?" She looks around. Nobody was in the room with me. She checked under the bed, in the bathroom, and in every nook and cranny of the room. "But I know what I felt. Okay," she said. "If anything else happens, we'll be sure to take notice. Please, for now, go to sleep. Good night." And she left the room. I was by myself, or so I thought. The next day, I was released from the hospital. My mom and dad assured me that everything was okay, that I was perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. They warned me that if I had another episode like that again, they would take me to see a psychiatrist. I went to my room nervous and shaking. I was distraught and confused. I analyzed everything that had happened the day before, seeing the helpless girl and feeling the hand grab my ankle. Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I actually was dreaming. I thought for a moment. I couldn't have been dreaming because what had happened was too realistic. Maybe I was going crazy, seeing it as my parents never saw a girl at the end of the hook. If anything like this happens again, I told myself I wouldn't tell my parents because I don't want to be taken to a shrink. I sat in my bed on the verge of crying. I was actually scared. Not being able to sleep that night, I kept the light on. To ease my mind, I painted on the walls in my room. Being old wallpaper, I decorated over it with random paintings of my favorite things, such as a fishing rod, popcorn, football, and baseball. After all, this wallpaper would be peeled off at some point in time. 1 in the morning approached, and everyone was asleep. I was still painting the walls, and that's when I saw it. I slowly walked toward the scratch marks on the wall, next to the door, when I realized they weren't there an hour ago. I scratch away at the wallpaper and see a line in the wooden wall. I peel more wallpaper off only to reveal a door. I grabbed a hanger and straightened the head of the hanger and stuck the pointy side in the crack and pulled open the door. Dust surrounded my face and cobwebs stuck to the wall. The real estate agent never told us about this room. It was creepy. It had an old smell to it. It was very plain and small. Not much to it. Just an empty room. I searched for more trapdoors or secret passageways only to find one hidden in the ground. I climbed down using my cell phone I had in my pocket as a light. I was scared, I admit, but I had to explore this place, seeing as it is a room in my room. I climbed down the creaky ladder into darkness. That feeling of fear hit me. The only light was coming from the top of the ladder because my phone went off. Other than that, it was total blackness. I turned on my phone. From a few feet away, I heard something. It sounded like weeping or squealing. I couldn't tell what it was until I turned the light of my phone to face the source of the sound. When I saw it, I dropped everything. Strapped in a chair was a girl. Rope tied around her hands and legs. She squirmed and squealed with tape across her mouth. Under the duct tape appeared to be a smile, but I could tell she wasn't happy. She moved her mouth up and down, trying to get out of the duct tape. All of a sudden, 2 long black hands with long black sharp nails wrapped around the girl's face and ripped off the tape. I was too in shock to run away, too scared to get attacked if I even tried. All I remember was staring with a blank expression. My whole body was too scared to move. A hole formed on the ground in front of her. The black figure untied the rope. As he untied the rope, the girl spoke. She had long black wet hair, a gray tint to her pale skin, and appeared as if she were crying blood. She looked like someone tried to drown her. She looked like she had just walked through purgatory. She was the girl I saw when we were fishing. "You didn't help me," she said. "It's time to go home now," she said. The figure pushed her in and stared at me for a while. She went home. The creature's eyes were the only things I could see in comparison to his completely black form. The eyes got bigger. Quite big, in fact, that I had soon realized that he was approaching me. As he got closer, his eyes seemed to light up the darkness. They were so bright, I could see his body. He appeared to be a human figure, but without detail. All I remember were his long fingers and lengthy black fingernails and his eyes. Don't you see? He spoke in a deep whisper. You're completely oblivious. A pointy-foot-long tongue fell out of his mouth and hissed. Blood began to pour down his long gray snake-like tongue right in front of my face. As he spoke, there was a deep rumble. I've been sending you messages, trying to get you to come home with us. Goodbye, for now. He finished. That feeling of fear disappeared, and the figure went with it. I snapped out of that trance and took a deep breath. The room vanished the next day. I was confused. The whole situation I was in confused me. What was home? How did the girl find my house? Too many questions polluted my mind, and it wasn't until months later when I figured out the answers. I was told that, like Freddy Krueger, the devil is only present when you fear him. He tries to get you to visit his house to stay for eternity. We call it the netherworld, the infernal regions, a place of torment, purgatory. He calls it home. That was the answer to all of my questions. If you review all of the messages in my story, you'd be able to realize that Satan was at work during the first few days when I encountered the girl. But you'd also realize that during the last leg of my story, that black figure was the devil himself.